Hi, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to Girls Night Live. Today, I am so excited. Let me tell you, so excited to be talking with Greg Grunberg. He's a television, TV actor, movie actor, and he does so much more. He's known best for his shows like Hero, Alias, one of my favorites, Felicity. He's also done movies like Mission Impossible, Star Wars, and again, one of my favorites, A Star is Born. And I am so excited to talk about some of the other things that he has started, that he's doing. He has a show on YouTube called The Caregivers. He has a podcast called Talk About It. And he also has a rock band, which we'll get into. But first, I just want to thank you, Greg. Thank you so much for joining us today on Girls Night Live.
Of course. Are you kidding me? It's kind of girls and a guy night live. Do you guys mainly have female guests?
No, not mainly. We have everybody, but I think this was the foundation that was started to really empower the girl and, just a night of togetherness. But we have men, women, we have all kinds of viewers that watch.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, thanks for having me on and having a great, you and I kind of got to know each other a little bit before we went live here. I am in great hands. I'm so happy to be here. And thank you for that nice introduction. That was awesome.
Yes, you are in great hands. I'm going to get down and get all the stuff so our viewers can know all the answers when it comes to you. So let's talk about it. I know you've been an actor and I know you grew up and you were born here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You actually went to a school that I was going to go to. I went and did the tour. You went to University High, correct?
Yeah, Uni High in West LA.
In West LA. I went and did the tour with my mom and I was terrified. I was like, I don't want to go to this school.
Wait, tell me what, because
it was scary.
Yeah, so Uni High, for those that don't know, the front of the school looks there are a few schools in LA, Hamilton High, Uni High, Venice High is where they shot Grease, because the front of the school is so just, it's what you think of when you think of a classic school. However, that school, Uni High that I went to, huge. Huge school. So did you come from a smaller school and then you went and took the tour and went, I'm going to get lost here?
Yeah. So I grew up in a school. It was a homeschool at a church.
Oh, there
you
go.
Like 8 of us. And then we walked into this school and I was like, there's no way. I cried. I was like, Mom, please don't send me here, please. So I did not go there, but I did do the tour. But if I would have known, I went and did the research and saw all the people that came from there. A lot of actors, a lot of entertainment folks came from that high school.
You know what? It's Los Angeles. I mean, this kind of goes into our first, I'm sure, segment of this, which is just growing up in Los Angeles. You can't help but be friends with somebody whose father or mother is a big actress or this or that, or producer or whatever. So it's out there. It's not unattainable. It's not intimidating because you're like, oh, well, I know that person does a lot of commercials or that. It's, when you hear about people coming from other places, I get it. The allure of it all. And then they arrive in Hollywood and it's a dump. And then they're like, this place is disgusting. And then you're like, no, you just got to travel up Sunset a little bit. And all that's changing and gentrifying. But, growing up here, my dad was in the clothing business. We call it the schmata business. It's like he was manufacturing women's jeans and traveling all the time to Mexico and to Asia and to all the manufacturing facilities, whatever. And so I grew up with a salesman father, a manufacturing and salesman father, and he taught me more than anything the harder you work, the more you quote unquote hustle, the more the rewards are, and just to find joy in anything that you're doing, because and my mom too is just really smart and funny, and she's just she was a strong female presence in my life. Great mom. I really had a great childhood growing up. But it's the clothing business, just like any other business, is a roller coaster, and there's ups and there's downs, and you have to be ready for all of it. You got to enjoy the good and the bad. There should not be any bad. Right. Like if I go and I have an audition and I don't get the role, that's not bad. I got to wake up in the morning. You're an actress, we get to wake up and act. Like, what are you I'm going to call you and go, hey, Lucy, check this out over Zoom. And it's like, great. But that's still acting. It's unfortunate, but in the entertainment business, you're constantly waiting for someone to give you that green light and telling you that okay, here we go, let's work together. And so you can't, I mean, even the drums, it's like I sit and play the drums. All I hear is, hey, quiet. No one listens to the drums and goes, hey, this is beautiful. It's one of those things it's a communal thing. You need other people to, do it with you. So my dad taught me early on, it's like, okay, not every dress is going to sell. Not every pair of jeans is going to do well. And I saw that rocky sort of financial up and down. And he was, I had a middle-class upbringing, and LA is a very expensive place to live. But anyway, and it stuck with me so much so that when I met my beautiful wife, Elizabeth, right before we got married, I said this, there's a quote from Willy Wonka that just means the world to me. And it's kind of the way we live our life. And I told her, and when Willy Wonka, he says, hold on tight, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen.
I love that.
I made a piece of art on the wall, and you look at it and all the letters are equally spaced out, and you don't know it. And until you look at it and you go, oh, hold on tight. I'm not. So the quote is on that. And I made this, and it's up in our house, and it just represents, and also having a special needs child, who's perfectly normal and everything, but can have a seizure at any time. It's like, you never know what's going to happen. Roll with it. Yeah. Enjoy every moment. And I say yes many more times than I say no. This opportunity to be with you here on Girls Night Live, I was ecstatic about, but there's small podcasts, small blogs and things. As long as it gets the word out and I can have a great conversation with nice people, I do it.
And speaking of that, because your dad was in sales, so we all know sales, and I love the fact that he told you don't get upset, because I think that correlates into acting. You go on audition, sometimes you get the sales, sometimes you don't. Yeah. And the fact that you made the quote based on something, hold on tight, because you don't know, again, based on your career, there's sometimes you land it, sometimes you don't. Now, in that space, because you also talked about how being from LA, born and raised, which you don't get a lot of natives anymore from out here. This is a mixing pot of all kinds of different cultures and people. But you grew up, and I know that you do have a really close friend in the industry as well, J.J. Abrams. Did that make it easier? Did you have your own path? Because you guys have known each other since you were very young, and you came up together. He's doing his thing and directing and doing all of that and producing, but you're also an actor. Did it help you come up together? Did you work together, or did you have your path and he had his path?
No, I mean, we met when we were 5 years old, elementary school at Roscommare Road Elementary School. And then we were making Super 8 movies back then. And then full circle, by the way, the latest movie that I'm in is called The Fabelmans. It's Steven
Such a good movie, guys. Check it out. Really
it's
good.
Such a beautiful film. And it tells Steven Spielberg's journey of, how he came up as a kid and his love of film and where his influences are through his family. But what's interesting is, okay, I'll make this as brief as possible. It's a really cool story. So we were like 10, 11, 12, and Matt Reeves, who's a huge, successful, and brilliant filmmaker. Matt and JJ are best friends with me, with the three of us, and they were making these Super 8 movies. Well, a public access show, Gerard Revell, a guy named Gerard Revell, and it was called like Young Filmmakers or something. It was on public access. He had JJ and Matt in, and they showed these movies, and I would star in all of these, I mean, almost all of them. Like they'd be a fake commercial or a spoof or this or that, or a little horror movie. And JJ was shooting all this stuff by himself. There's one movie where I'm, whatever, I'm 11, I'm 12, and I'm laying in a bed, and I get up and I go to the bathroom and I go to splash water on my face, and a knife comes up behind me and stabs me. And blood, and blood goes everywhere. All one shot. And then he edited different things, but all one shot. JJ's got the camera in one hand, the knife in the other hand, and then a blood thing here. So it's like,
wow.
I mean, it's like, he's 11, he's 12. So there were these films. Anyway, so Spielberg cut to at that time, Kathy Kennedy, who was, the head of Lucasfilm, brilliant producer. She was working as Steven Spielberg's assistant. And then in Arizona, in Phoenix, some guy buys a house and is told, oh, this was Steven Spielberg's house when he was a kid. Buys this house, cleaning out the attic, finds a box of Super 8 movies from when Steven made movies when he was 12.
Wow.
And all the movies, it's the old film. It was all ratted and whatever. So he brings the film to Amblin, she gets it. Kathy gets it. And she had seen this thing on public access, these two filmmakers. She was like, who better to repair these movies? So she reaches out to Matt and JJ. They get Spielberg's home movies when he was a kid. I'm sitting there with them going, can I just have a frame? All the stuff you're throwing away, let me just have. Nope.
No.
Every piece of it went back to them. And they fixed the film and give it back, whatever. Now cut to all these years later, they're telling the story of when Spielberg was a kid making movies. And I play the guy that gave Spielberg his break, his producer named Bernie Fine. So in the movie, and it was like on the set telling Steven, I didn't know Steven. I had met him once through JJ. I'm like, this is so weird. He goes, oh, you have no idea. And he said, Greg, you got this role. You beat out he was so sweet about saying, I did not know it was you until after I'd seen the tape and everything, which made me feel good because like you're saying, does it help you? I'm in a position now, I produce things and you always want to work with your friends and people that you know are really, really good. It saves you time, right?
Right.
But it can only go so far. Like if I didn't care about acting, if I didn't care about my craft, if I didn't really work hard at it and try to be as good as I could be, what is he going to give me a line or two or 5 lines, whatever? We've been working together since Felicity, Alias, Lost. I played the pilot in Lost. And then we always look for opportunities. And then obviously he is casting me. It's not the other way around. Star Wars, Star Trek, all this great stuff. So I'm just lucky, first and foremost, to have a friend like him. He's the greatest guy you could ever imagine when things are tough, like your son having a seizure or whatever. You got to, my wife and I are there for each other, but you need an outside person to call and talk to. And he's always been there for me. And then the icing on the cake is that we love working together. So it does help for sure when JJ calls and goes, hey, want to be in Star Wars? I mean, it's like, what? It's not, it would be just as incredible if he, directed Dunkin' Donuts commercials, but it happens to be.
These big hits, right?
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. But you're right. I mean, you can have the door open for you, but ultimately it's you that has to walk through it and stay in there. So I think that's a really good point. And speaking of Star Wars, when you did that, because I know you've done Star Trek as well, did you see an increase in all different types of fans? Because there are some hardcore fans out there when it comes. I was looking and I saw there's like fan clubs and they have all these different names for the fans. Do you get a lot of recognition for being in those films?
Oh yeah. I mean, obviously it's crazy. So Heroes was my big sort of, look, Lost as well, but I was on Lost for 10 minutes. I got killed right away, then I did a
flashbacks, right?
Yeah, I was the pilot on the pilot. If I didn't crash the plane, Lucy, it would have been called
There would be no Lost. Exactly.
It would have been On Time Arrival. That would have been the name of the show. So no, Heroes I was one of the leads of that show, and it was internationally renowned. It was like a really smash hit. And I was the first time that it was like, whoa, these are, Alias too, though. Alias fans, remember there was that really just deep, mythology and everything that went into the, anytime the audience has to think beyond what they've seen on the screen, that's when fandom gets really interesting. And the people are going, what if Agent Weiss went over here? Or what if Snap Wexley had a whole world over there? And then they write books about it and all that. When people are that invested, by the way, they expect me to know that stuff. I'm like, I don't know. What are you talking? They're like, your mom was a great pilot. Star Wars people. I'm like, she was. There's like a lot of stuff that I've had to catch up on, but I have a graphic novel series now. I'm embracing the whole world. I have been for years. I'm a geek. I go to Comic-Cons and I'm walk the floor just like everybody else. I love it. I love the access I have where I can sit backstage in the green room and talk to LeVar Burton and these people that I grew up with, that I'm just I'm just a huge fan of theirs. They're regular people, but they are just as much a fan as I am. It's very cool. Very, very cool.
And in that, because you've done Heroes and all of the other Star Wars and Star Trek, you actually started a band. I believe you started it, the Action Figures. And yes. I heard that the only people in this band are superheroes, like they're action figures.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They have action figures.
Yeah. So years and years ago, to raise money for epilepsy and many other causes, I started a band with Hugh Laurie and James Denton and Bob Guiney and Scott Grimes and Jesse Spencer and Adrian Pasdar, all these people. And we started, it was called Band from TV, BAND from TV. We've helped raise, not raise personally, but helped raise over $6 million.
For epilepsy.
So, for various causes. So Hugh Laurie's sister sat on the board of Save the Children. We donated money there. We played their events and stuff. And Scott Grimes is lupus and all, so epilepsy was mine. So my share went to them. And then over the years, Comic-Cons are a great place to actually play. We just played Los Angeles Comic-Con not too long ago, and Dan Fogler is now in the band, and Amy Jo Johnson. And so we have these people, like I would play and I'd look on the side of the stage and there's Carrie Elways and he's like, hey, can I get up? I'm like, yes, of course. But then there's people that they think it's karaoke. We really rock. Like we take the time. I mean, look at this. This is my setup here.
Yeah. So you play the drums.
I play the drums and I am the best drummer in the world. Ask anyone, ask Randy Cook from Smash Mouth. He'll tell you, John Andrasik from Five for Fighting. They know how good I am. No, I pretend to be a drummer. I love it. And we get up on stage, we get to have a lot of fun and the fans love it. And there's a lot of like Rat Packy type stuff where, between songs, I'll be like, hey, Scott, what's going on with the Orville, man? What's happening with that show? And the audience is like, we're telling secrets and telling behind the scenes stuff. So there's that and music. And we only play covers. We play songs that everybody loves. No one's interested in hearing originals from a bunch of actors.
It's fun to see a bunch of guys that you follow, that you love doing this. I mean, I can imagine the excitement and energy.
It's great. So people can go to theactionfiguresband.com. We do huge corporate events. We do, it's not cheap because there's a lot of us, but there are events and there are Comic-Cons and things. And we love that. We can go, we can sign all weekend long. And then at their party, we play their party. It's the best. Yeah. Absolutely the best.
It's like a triple treat. You get autographs, you get the interaction, you get the music. I think that's wonderful.
It's a lot.
Now, I want to touch on what you're doing in the epilepsy community because you are doing a lot. Now, I know you and your wife, you guys have a son, Jake, who grew up with epilepsy. When did it start for him? At what age did his first seizure happen?
Right before a 7-year checkup, he was, we noticed when we were driving in the car, he would be in the back seat and he'd be looking out. Now, if you look at somebody's eyes when they're looking out the window of a car, their pupils go beep, beep, boop, because they're following something. It's really interesting when you watch. I think maybe the rhythm of that or something may have triggered a seizure, but it wasn't what you typically think of as a seizure, where we call it a tonic-clonic, where it's tonic and clonic, shaking. Okay. So that is one type of seizure, but there are thousands of types of seizures. Like a tic can be a type of seizure, other things. So he would stare and like 3 seconds would go by. And then so we were the great parents that we are, we would reprimand him. We'd be like, Jake, lightly, we'd just be like, Jake, pay attention. Mommy asked you a question. And he'd be like, I'm sorry, what? And then we noticed that. So at a 7-year checkup, we said to our pediatrician, he said, everything okay? We said, yeah, there's this thing. And he asked Jake to hyperventilate, which we'd never done before. And when you hyperventilate, it can bring on a seizure if you have seizure potential or epilepsy. We didn't know it was epilepsy. And epilepsy, by the way, is defined as 2 or more unexplained seizures. So if you have a baby and the baby has a high fever and they have a seizure, that's not epilepsy. That's febrile. That's a febrile seizure. But if all of a sudden the baby totally normal has a seizure and you're like, what? Go to the doctor, go to the emergency room, whatever. Then another one at another time or whatever. And they're not sick. They're not under stress. They've got plenty of sleep. They're not taking drugs. They didn't get hit in the head playing a sport or a motorcycle accident. Whatever. If you can't pinpoint and seizures are happening, that's epilepsy. And so anyway, our pediatrician wisely said, look, I'm not a neurologist. We got to a neurologist. Then we realized quickly, you got to get to an epileptologist. That's a neurologist that specializes in epilepsy. And then it gets even more specific with a child. You need to get to a pediatric epileptologist. And it's all because there's so many great medications and therapies out there, but you need somebody who knows how to hone in on exactly the type of seizure and what medication will work best, where therapy will work best. And, back then we realized quickly there's a huge millions and millions and millions of people are affected and no one was talking about it. You think of a seizure and it's scary. And so there's a stigma attached and you don't want to. So I started talkaboutit.org.
Mhm.
And if people go to talkaboutit.org, you will see every actor, every musician, every athlete I've ever come across, talked to, been a part of a project with. I get them. They say, I want to help in any way I can. They ask questions and we have experts answering those questions. And then I started my podcast, Talk About It. So Talk About It is that theme where it's like, it's okay to, and by the way, this resonates with anything, Lucy. Like if you have some issue, you're part of the majority.
Mhm.
Or your family member has an issue, you're part of the majority. You're not in the minority. You're not alone. Even rare forms of epilepsy, which we're dealing with on the Caregiver series, everybody's got something. And if
Yeah.
they say they don't, they're lying.
Yeah.
Or some family member has something. Look at that light coming in behind me.
You're doing the work.
I'm doing the work, man. So anyway, we learned very long time ago, and we've gone through the car wash, I call it, or the roller coaster of it. Jake's had 2 brain surgeries. One, we decided, the doctor's guidance, we decided, okay, this is going to help. And it did. And then the other was an emergency one because he hit his head and had a brain bleed. And so, really, we almost lost him. Epilepsy is a cruel, horrible disease, and it affects over 3 million people.
Mhm.
And the more you know, the more people around you know what to do in case you have a seizure. It's simple stuff. I mean, there's 3. So you see someone have a seizure, catch them. Seizure's probably not going to hurt them.
Mhm.
It's going to last 2 minutes, maybe a little more, in majority of the cases. But it's the fall that's going to, if they're standing up and they start having seizure, they're going to crack their head. So catch them, bring them down slowly, or if they're on the ground already, take them down and put them on their side. If you're like this, even your saliva in your mouth could impede your airway. So put them on their side so anything comes out, and put a pillow or a jacket or a towel or something under their head so they're not banging on the ground, and let the seizure take its course. It's gonna, and don't yell at them, because when they come out of the seizure, to have somebody standing over going, Lucy, I mean, that's scary, right?
Yeah.
So just let them have it. And then when they come out of it, go, hey, you all right? Yeah, you had a seizure. And they'll be like, okay. And some of them might come out violent. They might come out scared, crying. It's the brain.
Yeah.
So there's emotions attached to it. But that's all at talkaboutit.org. Or, by the way, talkaboutonvideo.com. Talkaboutonvideo.com. Go there. All these celebrity videos, all of this information.
And I was like, do all these people have family members with epilepsy? Because you have so many stars. I saw Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
There was just so many. I was like,
oh yeah, Jennifer Garner, from Jennifer Garner to Dr. Drew to Milo Ventimiglia to Harrison Ford to JJ. I mean, everybody I come across, I'm like, hey, will you do a quick PSA for me? They're like, sure. And to answer your question, no, thank God. None of those people are affected. Some of them are. When I worked on, you mentioned Stars Born, I'm in the car with Gaga and we're shooting, and she goes, hey, I just want to thank you for what you're doing. My dad had seizures when I was growing up. And I was like, what? So she ended up helping us raise all this money. She did a charity auction for a behind the scenes tour of her Vegas residency. I mean, everybody wants to help. You know this from everybody wants to be a part of something to make change or help other people, but they need direction. Yes. So when I ask for their help, they're more than happy. It's a personal connection for us. And we've been really successful, but we have a long, long way to go. And that's what Talk About It's all about.
So there's one other thing that I really want to touch on, because I was really surprised when I read this. Growing up, I always heard and thought if somebody's having a seizure, you put a stick or something in their mouth so they don't swallow their tongue. I'm like, if I ever see anybody have a seizure, put something in their mouth.
Never
to do that, right?
Oh no, that is the absolute worst thing. First of all, if you put your finger in their mouth, okay.
I think.
Remember, tonic is your muscle going like this. Muscles, all your muscles are tense, and then colonic is shaking. Your tongue is one of the most powerful muscles you have. So your tongue is going to go, it's never going to go back in your mouth. You can't choke on your own tongue. It is such a myth. You stick your finger in someone's mouth, you can get your finger bit off. You stick a stick in their mouth, it can get bit off. If you go on eBay, this shocked me like crazy. We were on the set of Heroes. It was the finale, huge episode. And all of a sudden this Teamster goes down, huge, big guy like me, goes down on the ground, having a seizure. He was diabetic and he hadn't taken his or had breakfast, and so it was a diabetic seizure. But a guy, I go over to him and I'm holding his head and I'm like, it's all right. I said, just back away, let him have the seizure. And this guy walks up to me and he goes, takes his wallet out and tries to shove his wallet in his mouth. And I go, what are you doing? And he goes, it's okay. I'm an EMT part-time.
Okay.
He's a paramedic part-time and he didn't even know.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I thought that was the number one thing. So when I
Never.
saw that, I was really surprised. So I'm like, wow, you don't really hear a lot of people talk about epilepsy because it's just not something that is.
This guy.
I see that. And you're giving information because that was something, it was a total nugget that I took away from reading up on you and seeing what you're doing and the work that you're doing. So
yeah, and now, if I may just give a plug for this new series, because you mentioned it before we went on and you've mentioned it already. The caregiverseries.com. Guys, I'm telling you, please go and check this out. It's so beautiful. It's one of the proudest things that I'm producing and hosting right now, the most personal and thing I'm most proud of. We travel the country. We meet people whose family is affected by, and we're going to be branching out to other things, but right now, by rare forms of epilepsy. I partner with Jazz Pharmaceuticals. This company cares about patients more than anybody I've ever seen. I've worked with a bunch of companies getting awareness and helping with that. But this is unbelievable. They've been doing what I've been doing to talk about it for a long time. And so we said, let's come together. The one commonality is caregivers. Like 3 million people have epilepsy. Okay. But then it ripples out because you've got family and friends. And now you're talking about 20, 30, 40 million people that are directly impacted by somebody they know or love or themselves. So the caregiver series, I travel around the country. The most important thing about caregiving is you have to take care of yourself and be in a good place to be able to take care of the ones you love. So give yourself that 5 minutes to stand at a Starbucks or a coffee place and go, wow, okay, I'll have a cappuccino, whatever it is. We don't even have, as caregivers, the last person we're thinking about is ourselves. So like I did this episode with Megan that's up right now at the caregiverseries.com. And she loved pickleball. She hasn't done it and she has never done it. And we went to a pickleball place. Leslie, a mom of a beautiful daughter and who has TSC. I take her and we go, she hasn't painted. I used to paint when I was a kid, oil paint. We went and did art therapy. Like all these episodes are in there and we sit and we talk and then we go back to the house and I barbecue for them, of course, because I love doing it. But it's well produced. I'm really proud of it. Go to the caregiverseries.com. Thank you for letting me plug it because.
Of course. No, we were going to talk about it. I was going to bring that up because my question was the fact that, and I have seen some of the series. I seen the one where the guy loved cars, which I was like,
John.
oh my gosh, that's so amazing. You don't think about the parents. You don't think about the siblings because you have siblings who have a brother or sister that has it where the parents are giving them the attention. What are they missing out on? How are they feeling? The caregivers that are doing it, nobody's checking on them. You're a parent. You don't think twice about doing for your kids. So the fact that you're stepping in and doing a show like this and giving them these moments, giving them these days of excitement and fulfilling these dreams, was this something that you and your wife, Elizabeth, also had to deal with? Because I know you have 3 boys. There's 2 other boys that didn't deal with that.
Girl, you're so good at this.
I'm just saying, you two as a married couple.
I'm just saying you're really good at this.
Well, thank you. But the stress that comes with it.
100%. So, okay. I talk about it in the John episode, but I'll talk about it here because it's so important. So whatever you're dealing with, asthma, cancer, epilepsy, I don't care what it is, big or small, there's more attention going to that one child.
Yes.
Or to the brother or the sister or the uncle or whatever. So you not neglect, but that's special time. Good or bad, and I use that term because when I was a kid, my parents did this thing. I have an older brother, younger sister, and my parents did this thing called special time where they would say, all right, Greg, tonight's your night, wherever you want to go. And it's like, the kids don't care about, I'm not going to be like, well, I mean, we're in LA, let's be honest. Some kids are like, I want to go to the most expensive place in the world. No.
I don't know what kids you have, but mine, I know they would be on something whole different than what I was back in the day.
Sushi.
Exactly.
So,
we have Korean barbecue tonight. Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. That's all we live. I want to set up one of those in our house. We love Korean barbecue so much.
So good.
But back then it was bowling. It was putt-putt golf. It was McDonald's, whatever. It didn't matter. It was just being with my parents, right? But when Jake was in the hospital, for an overnight EEG or a doctor's visit or whatever. It's extra time we're spending with Jake. So that was extra time. So we realized that this is a problem when our Ben, who's now 22, when he was, I think, 7 or 8, said, "Mom, Dad, I wish I had epilepsy." And we were like, oh man, like we really took a step back and said, what? Like, that's horrible.
Yeah.
But what he was saying was, I wish I could spend as much time with you as Jake does. So then you analyze it. And then all of a sudden, special nights clicked in with me. And I said, wait, honey, we have to do this. And Elizabeth and I talked about it. So now we had a special night with Sam, special night with Ben, special night with Jake. Because the special nights we're having with Jake at the hospital, those aren't good.
Yeah.
And then I love my wife. She's the sexiest thing on the planet. I mean, like, she loves me. You can't lose that spark. So you go, wait, we need date night. So there's special night for us, special. And then on top of that, I need time for myself. Like, everybody needs that time to just go, I'm going to go for a drive. Like, I love cars. That's my blue Bronco that's on the Caregiver. That's actually my car.
Okay. Yeah.
And which I got from Alias, by the way. That was Bradley Cooper's character's car on the show.
They gave it to you?
No, I bought it.
I was like, wow, what show can I get on? I need a car.
Oh yeah, people love me. They give me things. No. I bought it from Disney when the show went down, but I've babied it for 25 years. And anyway, I love that car. And John loves cars or whatever. So I'll just go for a drive, or I'll go to a Cars and Coffee and meet my buddy Aaron or whatever. You just need to have those moments and take advantage of them, or just getting on that. Look at that thing right there. That thing I can't stand. And then I get off of it and I feel so good.
Right.
You know, just having exercise or time for yourself, cooking or whatever. So anyway, that's what the Caregiver is all about. And that special time is so important. I'm so glad you brought it up. And it's really hard. Like, people are listening to this right now, caregivers, and there's a bunch of them, and they're going, yeah, that sounds great, but no way. Guess what? Do it. There is a way. You need it for yourself. The other thing, by the way, that we do on the Caregiver that people need is a pat on the back. You need to accept that, people. Caregivers that are listening to this right now, it is the last thing in the world that you want to hear when someone goes, oh, how do you do it? You're an angel. You and your partner, how do you do it? Guess what? What are we supposed to do? I used to hate that. I was like, what do you mean? I'm a parent. I love my son. I love my boys. We do whatever we have to. But you need to accept when somebody says you're doing a great job, and you are. You're going above and beyond what you should have to do. I hate saying that because every situation has something, like I said. So everybody's dealing with something, but just take a breath and go, yeah, I am doing a good job.
That's amazing. And I think you're right. I don't think a lot of people take the time to even acknowledge what they're doing, because it is their job as a parent, but not every parent steps up to the plate or can handle that. And I think
they all do to a certain to extent. So whatever level that they're doing, or however they're sharing their responsibility, whatever, but take it in and go, you know what? I made a mistake yesterday. Oh, Jake had a seizure and I didn't deal with it this way or that way or whatever. Don't look there. There's a quote from another movie. I'm Mr. Movie quote from the Cannonball Run. They're about to go on a race. They get into a Ferrari, and the one guy grabs the rearview mirror, rips it off, and throws it out. And the passenger goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "What is in the front of me is not behind me." And it's like, just live your life like that. Move ahead. Don't worry about that. That happened. It's over. Move ahead.
Keep going. Yeah. And again, I think it's amazing that you are using your platform because you've built it. You have an amazing platform. You have a beautiful career. And I know that this is something that is close to your heart, and that you are taking and going above and beyond with the podcast and the series. And the fact that you mentioned taking time for yourself, not a lot of us do that. And I love that. So I have a question. You have some boxing gloves behind you. Are you a boxing fan? What are you doing with all those? Okay.
So the boxing gloves are the most kind of obvious to see because you know what they are. I see
some footballs too, I think.
Yeah. So you see, there's a football from Paterno. I played, Al Pacino played my dad. I played Scott Paterno. That was such a memorable role. I have the football that we used in the movie, and Al signed it. The whole cast signed it. Okay, I got that. These are from, I was doing a Comic-Con, and this guy comes over, and I'm like looking at him, and it turns out it was like Tommy Hearns, I think, or it was a boxer wanted my autograph. And I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "There's a whole hall with all these famous boxers." And I said, "No way." He goes, "You have to come over and visit." So I went over
Wow.
to that, that hall, and it
Uh-huh.
was athletes signing. And I'm doing a big documentary right now on Pete Rose for HBO that I'm producing. And I
Nice.
love athletes. I think
Mhm.
they're, to me, it's a God-given talent, and the persistence and the ability, like you and I can do this forever. We really can. If we're smart about it, whatever, I gain weight, I lose weight, whatever. I'm a character. I can do this and that. Athletes, I mean, you have a finite amount of time. I have so much respect for athletes.
And
Um,
the work that they have to put into their body,
oh,
oh
and
my God.
boxing,
Oh,
like forget it. So
mm.
anyway, you know, um, I went over there and I got a bunch of signatures. There's guitars that I'll show you up here. You see those guitars up there?
Yes, I
This
love
one,
that banjo.
yeah. So this one is Gibson guitars. I was raising money for epilepsy, and Gibson guitars gave us 35 flat white Les
Wow.
Paul double pickup guitars with none of the electronics on it, and
Uh-huh.
said, I was doing this finger painting a charity thing, and they said, why don't we finger paint guitars? So I sent this one, actually Ringo Starr from the Beatles, painted with stars all over it and signed it. This
Really?
is a banjo that Steve Martin was kind enough to, and I don't know how I got these people. I mean, I do know, I'll tell you the story, but 35 guitars, and I'm this actor. Like, I don't know a bunch of musicians.
Yeah.
I was on Alias with maybe the most generous actor and great actor, Michael Vartan. And Michael's mom knew everybody in rock and roll from years ago. She was in the music business and knew all these people. So she said, let me handle it for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Okay, fine. Turns out I get a call from Bob Geldof. I get a call from Sting. I get a call from the Beach Boys. I get a call from the Black Eyed Peas. I get a call from, I mean, all these people are calling. Pete Townsend from The Who called, and all these people, Pink, Reverend, Run from Run DMC, and his wife, and Courtney Love, and like all these people calling me going, here, I just want to give you the address where to send the guitar to, and I'll paint it and send it back to you. Randy Newman. And we
Oh,
sold all this. I just sold a guitar
uh-huh.
at Comedy for a Cure. All these years later, I still have a few of them that I give to epilepsy charities.
That
We
are
have an
all
auction.
painted
Oh
from
yeah,
you.
they're all painted. They're
Oh, that's amazing.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And one of them, this one was Lisa Kudrow, who was
Mhm.
on Friends and sang
Yeah.
Smelly Cat. I'm doing this game show right now called 25 Words or Less. Lisa is an old friend. She produces that show. Years ago, I asked her, she was like, yeah, she hand painted it and signed it. We just sold it. I think it went for like $8,000 or something like that, $5,000 to $8,000. And that
Amazing.
goes right to the charity. And someone has
Yeah.
a unique, one of a kind thing to put on their wall, like me.
I love
So
that.
yeah.
I love that. So I know that you also, we're going to talk about this for a second. You have a book, Dream Jumper, that is on Scholastic.
Yeah.
So, and I also know the backstory of this is, and I don't know which one, but this book is based on a dream that
Yeah.
your son had, right?
Yes.
Tell
Yeah.
me about that. What was
Okay.
that? How did that come about?
It was crazy. So, obviously from my history of and Heroes, it was all about comic books and foretelling the future and the past and all of this. So I've always had comic books on my mind. I'm a fan of all that. I never collected them growing up, but I did read them, and
Mhm.
not a lot of them, but I was, So anyway, I'm, when apps first came out, I was like, I want to create, I'm very entrepreneurial. So I was like, I want to create an app. And I created Yowza, this mobile coupon app, and I sold it. And it was like, it just, opportunities come, like you and I talked about, I just go. My
Yeah.
dad instilled that to me. I just go,
Mhm.
let's make it happen. So graphic novels, right? So Ben, our middle guy, who's now 22, he wakes up when he's like 11 or something. Same guy who said, I wish I had epilepsy. I mean, he's just, I steal everything from Jake, from
Yeah.
Ben. So Ben wakes up and says, and goes, he's had a nightmare, and I'm trying to put him back to sleep. And he said, it was so real, Dad. And I said, what was it? He goes, it was me, but I was in my friend's dreams. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, I was like jumping in and out of my friend's dreams and saving them from their worst nightmares.
Wow.
And I was like, what? So
Light
then
bulb.
I'm down at Comic-Con, and I meet the most incredible guy, Lucas Turnbloom, who's an illustrator and guy, and he has this long line, people he's signing. And I said, hey, can I pitch something to you? Because I don't, it's hard to like come up with a new concept in any of our entertainment spaces, And he said, he was like turned white, and he's white, and he turned white, and he was like, that sounds incredible. So over the course of 2 years, or a little over a year and a half, we We came up with it. He wrote the whole thing. We pitched it. Now it's available everywhere. I mean, Dream Jumper, I wish I had the book here. It is everywhere. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it and Scholastic. It's in the Scholastic catalog, you know, when your kids are at school. But it is, we have 2 volumes, and I'm hoping to make a TV series or a movie out of it. Yeah.
So I love that you touch on your dad, because I think the fact that your dad was a salesman, he's an entrepreneur. Every day you get up and you make a sale, you're running your own business.
Yeah.
And in your career, you are an entrepreneur with the different avenues, the different things that you're touching on. And I want to go to, we have a question from Chantel, because I think this is something that can help her with that, because again, the way that you think, the way that you work. So she has a question. She says she's an inspiring director, producer, writer, and documentary filmmaker.
Yeah.
She wants to know how did you get into the entertainment industry, which we touched on that a little bit, but she's planning to relocate to LA very soon and would like some tips to help her out in that space.
She's not going to like what I have to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is what I say. I'm asked to speak in front of, groups of acting classes and groups of people and whatever. I tell people, if you want to get into our business, acting, writing, producing, whatever it is, just know you're never going to be successful. You're never going to make any money at it. It's never going to happen for you. If you can hear that and still push through, then you're doing this for the right reasons. You're making it happen. You're going to be self-sustaining, self-generating. That's what it's all about. Like when I was coming up years ago, I mean, you're a baby, Lucy. It's like, you realize when I was coming up as an actor, I had to get, everybody wants tape. Like, oh yeah, Lucy's perfect for the role. What, can I see tape on her? Meaning they want to see work you've already done. They want to see scenes you're in from movies and TV shows. Well, as you're starting out as an actor, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
But back then there was no cell phones. So I had to fudge it. I had to try to do student films at universities and this and that, non-sync sound, no sound, just me going, just so there was tape on me. Today, and by the way, this is all because no one wants to be the first person to give you their first shot. No one. Everybody wants to say no. I mean, can you attest to that?
It's kind of crazy. I think it's true when you say everybody wants to see what you've already done, but you're like, I'm trying to show you what I can do. And that's the difficult part.
But so as an actor though, you have a phone. Your phone's got a camera on it as good as any other camera that's used in the business now. So who should be the first person that takes a chance on you?
Yourself.
You. Get your phone out. Do a scene from your favorite movie. Do a scene, write a scene and shoot it over the shoulder. Me and Lucy at a cafe talking, blah, 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 some scene, whatever. It doesn't matter. Shoot a bunch of things, different looks, you and different things. Cut it together without sound, just to music. Then they go, wow. Greg's been in a lot of stuff, this guy. Meanwhile, it's all me. I made all that stuff. So do it. Don't wait for the phone to ring. Don't sit there. Right now, I have a great manager, a great agent, a couple agents in non-scripted and scripted and manager and lawyer and what. I have a team. That didn't happen overnight. And all of those people are incredible. I'm not waiting for them to call me, but I call my manager and I go, hey, Susan, what do you think of this? And she's like, she does there. And she goes, let me research it. So I have a team. Use your team. They're going to call you with jobs, but more time than not, it's going to be you. And I have a lot of actors that go, it's like, I feel like I'm the one who's doing all the work. Of course. It's you.
You're your business, right?
Yes. You're the product. I mean, you know your product better than anybody else.
I love that.
So I hope that helped her.
She did. She said, thank you for the advice.
Okay, good.
So thank you. But this is going to be my last question for you, because first off, thank you for answering.
By the way, this is vodka. This is straight up vodka. I knew I had to deal with you. So I was like,
that's why I'm getting all the answers from him right now.
Exactly.
But one of the questions that I have based on what you just said to Chantel, what kept you going? Why didn't you stop and say, this isn't working for me. I'm done. I'm quitting. Maybe I'm gonna go find something else. I'll get in sales like my dad did. Why didn't you? What kept you going? That
is maybe the best question I've ever been asked. I'm not kidding. That is such a great question because it never ends. That question I can answer today, tomorrow. There are projects I still want, roles that I'm auditioning for and I never hear about. Voiceover. My God, I have a booth here. There are 5 people that sound like me that work all the time, and I'm trying to break into that world. It's impossible, right?
Yeah.
what's really kept me going, honestly, the root of it is, and first of all, I have to just give credit to my family, especially my wife. They just support me. It gets back to hold on tight. I'm holding on tight to her. I'm holding on tight to my family, and I'm holding on tight to my dream. I love what I do so much. And I'm talking about this. How much fun is this?
Yes.
Lucy, what the hell's going on?
It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday. I didn't know you before this.
Right. We're friends now, Greg. I'm gonna DM you. You better check
That's
your
it. DM. You'll have my info. I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you're like, hey, Greg, advice, whatever. It's like you build your community. You build the people that you trust, that you know aren't going to take advantage of you. I smell it right away. People are like, hey, I think this could be a really good project for you. If you get an email like that, I want to just delete that person. What are you talking about? Obviously, I'm going to help your. No, be a friend. Just ask me, whatever. We want to work together, whatever. I'm just saying my passion, though. I love nothing more than working with great people on a set. I mean, come on, Lucy, when you're acting and you're on a set, or even this, but still like acting where it's like, look at these sideburns I had to grow because I'm shooting a new show for HBO Max right now in New Mexico that takes place in the early 70s. Wow. JJ wrote it. I'm acting with.
Can you say the name of it? Can you talk about it?
Yeah, it's called Duster.
Okay.
And it was in the trades. And Josh Holloway and Rachel, she was on This Is Us. Oh my God, I'm blanking on her last name. She's incredible, amazing actor. She and Josh and Corbin Burnson, and there's a lot of great people on this show. I play a member of the FBI. That's really all I can say, but it's so well written, so cool. I love those old cars. I get to, that whole world, the 70s world.
Yeah, the 70s. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So there's nothing more fun than what JJ and I used to do when we were kids. Now I'm doing it on a, I'm fortunate that we're still doing it, and I love it so much. And I would do it with my cell phone. If it was only me, I would call you up and look, here's an idea that I want to do. I don't even care if it's out there. You're going to love this idea. A car chase, police car chases on TV. Our house stops. We're like, car chase. And we all watch it. Right. And being in Los Angeles, there's a lot of them. Right.
Wait, did you see that one this weekend where the girl jumped out the front with her purse?
It's two girls. What was that all about?
Yes, that was
crazy. And then that was nuts. That was nutty. And then they got into that other car, spike strip, like all that. But here's what we don't see is the inside of the car. So that chase, I screen grabbed it on my phone. This is what was her name that asked the question?
Chantel.
Okay, Chantel, this is something you could do. This is what I'm going to do just because it's fun. I screen grabbed it. Now I'm going to, with GoPros in the car, I'm going to pretend that me and let's say you, Lucy, you're in the back seat and you're like, pull over. What are you doing? You never go inside the car. And then cut back to the news. And I'm going to put these videos out. Why not?
That is funny. Yeah.
And I'm not asking for anyone's permission. I'm doing it because I love it and it's fun. So
she said funny.
Awesome.
And just so you guys know, it's Rachel Hilson. That's who is on the show.
Yes, Rachel Hilson. I almost said Bilson, but that's a different Rachel. Yeah, Rachel Hilson. She's incredible.
Well, Greg, you are amazing. I'm so glad I got to talk with you. Thank you for being so open. Thank you for sharing. I know that all of our audience is thankful as well for your nuggets and all of your good information. We're just so grateful. Thank you so much.
Oh, are you kidding? Right back at you. Thank you for having me on. I know you reach a lot of people, and this is just very cool that people can at least know what to do if they have a seizure. And this was a blast. We would have done this if we didn't know each other. We would have done this anyway. So I love it.
I was ready to have this conversation outside of this because I was just so intrigued. So thank you again, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you for everybody at Girls Night Live.
Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your afternoon.